How are you doing? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. What time is it?
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Okay. And wait, and you're in Herzegovina?
Bosnia and Herzegovina. That's a neighbor country of Croatia, and you have had the Zvonko from Croatia, the violinist, as I recall. Yeah. So I was pretty excited when I saw someone from Croatia on your podcast, so to say.
Right. Yeah, he was really cool. And he was really smart. He was very
sharp.
The word intuitive. He could feel things inside his body, and he could describe them very easily, which makes it a lot easier to work with somebody who can accurately describe what they're feeling.
Have you heard of a somatic experience? That's some I don't know how to explain it. Body healing psychotherapy. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, sure. I know it. I know it exists. And I have a great book about that. It's called "The Body Keeps the Score." It's in English, obviously, but it may have been translated into other. I wouldn't be surprised if it's been translated into other languages. But it's all about that. And of course, postural restoration is the ultimate somatic experience. That's what it is.
I'm pretty excited to talk to you. Usually, I introduce the guests, but we can just start. I started recording, and we can just start from here. So as I said, I watched a lot of your videos. I think I've watched like a third of your YouTube content, and you have a lot of content.
I have more videos than I realized.
Yeah, you have really, I don't know, something around 1 million views on your whole channel, I think.
Oh, really?
Something like that.
I didn't even know that was that much.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
First question I want to ask you, how huge is PRI? Because I don't want to ask any other way, because it is huge.
Huge in regards to being well known, or a development of understanding of human behavior?
How huge is it for us humans to evolve? I don't know how else to say it, but I think you get my question.
How important it is for us, especially for those people who are involved in the fitness and training and science world, to understand the science of postural restoration.
And generally, like, we're breathing and walking the whole time, so we have to relearn it. I will tell you a story about my walking, but first off, I'll give the word back to you.
From my perspective, it is something that is so important that it should be taught in elementary school, because I don't know about where you're from, but in the United States, the schools, they teach you to take tests. They teach you information to take tests and get good grades, and then go to college and get a good job, because that's happiness, that's success. They don't teach you about actual happiness. They don't teach you about how to care. They're doing it a little bit more now, especially with mindfulness and breathing for certain populations. But when I was in school, there was none of that. You're just on your own. And they don't teach kids how to deal with their own bodies, especially when they're teenagers, and the sensations that they're feeling, the hormones. And you don't know what you're feeling, but you just know that you're feeling things. And, but they don't teach you about that. And when I was growing up, parents really weren't talking about that either. So, kids were just on their own to learn about life. But I think the understanding for so many people that I've worked with, for them to understand that there's nothing wrong with them. Like the guy I saw yesterday, he knows he's been crooked for a long time. He knows that his walking has been off. His tightness in the right side has been there for so long. And everyone just kept telling him that he's crazy. There's nothing, Nothing wrong with him. He went for some physical therapy, which was completely ineffective, but he constantly, and I had to reassure him yesterday, at least 3 times, that you're normal. You are a right dominant human that has more muscle on the right side of their body, who just because of life became too right dominant. That's it. There was nothing physically wrong with him in any sense. He responded to these techniques so well. He was feeling everything he needed to feel in even more complicated techniques. Whereas I made a video about this a couple of days ago. The other guy, the moment he tries to shift his left hip back, his back just tightens. But his brain is fearful. It will not let him shift to the left, to the non-dominant side. It wants to keep him on that right side. He can get neutral. His body can be neutral at rest, meaning he has full range of motion, just lying on a table. But when he's upright against gravity and he tries to center his body over his left leg, his brain won't let him do it. That's for some reason. It's fear of something. So just to know that we are not asymmetric, that humans are not, the right side and our left side are not the same. They never will be the same. And because of that, we develop a strong pattern of overuse of the right side. And most physical pain that's not coming from an injury, disease, arthritis, those are the 3 that, that's legitimate orthopedics, and disease. But when you just have chronic pain, that is, or pain, they call it idiopathic pain where it comes from, you don't know where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. And you take the MRIs, all these scans, the x-rays, and the doctors say, well, you look fine, so it must be in your head, right? Mm-hmm. That's coming from a pattern of overeat. It's so predictable. Because you lie them down on the table, the tests are going to be very predictable. Their body is over to the right side. And if they're always on the right side, even at a state of rest, they lose their left side. And eventually they will lose their right side also, because their right glute is going to become so weak that they can't stay upright on their right leg. So they'll start to lean over to the left side, but they're not really on their left side. They're just leaning to try to not fall over further to the right. So it's so important if you could just understand the fact that your body is not the same on the right side, and it will never be the same. The right side of your body and the left side of your body are very different. They will never act the same way because of the way that our organs are arranged on the inside of our body, and the fact that you have a bigger right diaphragm, which makes it easier for you to use your right diaphragm to breathe, which means you have to be over on your right side a little bit more than the left side. And then you have a brain that's paying attention to the right side of your world. That is not a pure eye concept. That is well known. That's in science. That's in neuroscience. They know that from split brain patients. They know that from psychiatry. They know it. High-level optometrists will know that your brain is paying attention to your right peripheral space more than the left. Add all these things up, and you are a right dominant human. There's a reason that 90% of the world will throw with the right hand and kick with the right foot. It's not a coincidence, but no one ever put this all together. But if you could just be aware of the fact that you will have a tendency to overuse your right side, you could start very early in every strength and conditioning program, just sit in school, shift over your left sit bone and breathe as a kid. That would do.
Well, I will do the whole podcast on my left heel. So
okay. Make sure your left knee is unlocked.
It is unlocked, but my quad is like shaking. So
no, that's the issue. That's the left AIC pattern. Yeah. So you shouldn't feel your quad just by unlocking. So your brain is using the left AIC pattern to stabilize you on your left leg. So you're not using your hamstring on the left. No. You're not using your adductor, your inner thigh, and you're not using your glute medius on the left. You're using your lower back and your hip flexors to stabilize your body when it's on the left side, because it doesn't know how to shift your left hip back because you've just become too patterned. That's it. But it doesn't mean there's anything seriously wrong with you. It's just a pattern. You just have to learn a new skill, or a skill that you've lost, which is how to shift into the left side appropriately and breathe.
you said a skill that we've lost, and you also said that Ron never made something like coincidental. Never said something that is just there formally. And postural restoration, the word restoration is like something ancient that has to be restored. So the program is in us, but we shifted into another pattern.
Yes, it's walking and breathing. No one teaches you to walk as a child.
But I walk like my father, so I copied my father in some way.
Okay. Well, and that would be a learned behavior.
Yeah, mimicked. Yeah.
But true walking, I mean, it's mimicking. So it's seeing someone do it and you do the same thing. We mimic behaviors all the time to act like somebody else, to usually someone in authority. We want to be like our sporting, the great footballers of Europe. You want to act like them, so you get the same haircuts and the same tattoos and whatever it's going to be. In the United States, it would be you want to be like LeBron James. You want to be like, I don't know, Tom Brady, whatever.
Tom Brady.
But and you'll never be like Tom Brady, so don't even try. And you're never going to be like LeBron James either, so don't even try. But walking and breathing are just, first of all, breathing, you're just going to do it. That's not even an issue. Well, until you die. But the walking part, no one teaches you to walk. You just start doing it as you develop. So it's already built into our brains from evolution. But we lose the ability to walk because of patterning. We'll still walk, but we're going to walk in compensation. And when you walk in compensation, your ability to rotate your body and your head and your hips becomes less. And that's where the problems occur. You still need to rotate your arms and your legs and your torso and your neck, but if it can't rotate because you've become tight and patterned, now you start to loosen up ligaments and hip capsules and all these other areas of your body to get the range of motion that you can't get. And that's what starts to break you down over time, not the pattern itself. It's the compensations that start to hurt.
So I always struggle to walk, like my feet are always pointed outward, and I always supinated, like my feet don't go in this S shape, like supination, pronation. It went always like a upward, upside down J. So I pronated, and then supinated the whole time. And like you said, it's this fake pronation. You mentioned it.
Yeah.
So, and I was trying to, not my entire life, but some periods in my life, I was trying to fix this by trying to walk straight and trying to do, but I couldn't do it. Like I was getting better at it, but like one week went by and it went to the old pattern. Right. So why can't we learn how to walk by walking? Why do we have to use this neural, all these exercises in PRI?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple things.
Okay.
If your body has become unstable, in particular, your left hip joint, the left femur, the left side of the pelvis, if that area has become unstable, you could try to pronate that right foot all you want, but your brain is not going to let you go to the left side because it's unstable. So pronation of your feet without a stable side to move on to is meaningless. It's not going to do it. That's why just working on pronation won't change a thing, because pronation is not the issue. You're staying supinated because your brain doesn't trust either side. So it's just going to keep you in the middle. If you supinate, if one foot supinates and the other one, well, all right. So which side this would be your right side? Okay. So if your right side is supinated and your left foot is pronated, that's the typical pattern, right? That means your weight's over on that right side. If your right foot comes down, the left foot should come up, which then would shift you to the left. But if you're just pronating the right foot, but this left side is still flat and your brain doesn't know how to resupinate on the right side for heel strike, because that left side hip is so unstable, you can pronate the right foot, pronate the right foot, pronate the right foot, but you're never going to shift to the left because, first of all, you don't know how to turn your pelvis to the left. You've lost that skill. Second, that left side is so unstable already that it's never going to let you shift to the left because you're unstable. So the feet don't mean anything to your brain unless it's in, I want to say the word conjunction. I'm trying not to use really hard words because I know English might not be the first language of everybody here. I
understand conjunction. I understand. I seldom speak English, but
your English
happen at the same time. Yeah.
It has to happen at the same time with your body shifting to the left onto a left side that is sensed visually, felt underneath the foot, sensing the ground, which people who are in a pattern no longer do, and stability through the left hip. Otherwise, that right foot pronation will go nowhere for you.
Okay.
Because your brain's still fearful, doesn't sense things and doesn't feel things.
Yeah.
Which is the definition of trauma, by the way.
Definition of what?
Trauma. Traumatized people. They're not sensing and they're not feeling, or the feeling is overwhelming, so they withdraw. If you read The Body Keeps the Score, it's just PRI. The whole thing is PRI. That's what we're talking about. But it may not be a mental, I don't say mental. It might not be always a psychological trauma that we're talking about, but your brain has a memory of injuries of your body. So even on this, the body level, even if in your life, and who's really not had some sort of trauma in their life? Everybody has. Mm-hmm. So you can't discount that. But even let's just say your life has been pretty good, or you're able to deal with the difficulties of life pretty well. Well, your brain still has knowledge and memory of traumatic injuries. And if that injury, that ankle sprain that created instability through your foot and then worked its way up to the hip, your brain remembers that thing's not stable. And you never integrated it with the opposite side of the body. So so your brain is fearful of the position and stability of your own body, and it's not going to let you go to that side.
Like I said, I'm pretty excited about PRI. I'm a PRI noob. So, but the first time I heard about it, there was a talk about you can get range of motion by breathing. And I was like, really? Okay. Yeah. And as I'm digging deeper into the subject, it's like, why isn't PRI more popular? Is it like I was thinking about this, and there is always this conspiracy theories, and I don't like conspiracy theories. When some illegal drug like psilocybin isn't approved because the pharmaceutical industry or whatever, is right. This maybe some kind of backlash? Because do you know what I want to say?
Yeah, no, I know. No, I don't think so. I think one issue is that physical therapy, because this comes out of physical therapy, it's not physical therapy. Well, it is a type of physical therapy, but it's also emotional therapy. It's also psychology. So I think you have a couple issues. I don't know how it is in Europe and in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Sounds right.
Yeah. I don't know how it is in Europe and overall, but in the United States, everything is very, the visual doctors are here. The dentists are here. The physical therapists are here. The medical doctors are way up here because they're so superior, but no one is communicating amongst each other. They don't understand. They've become so specialized that they cannot see the connection between teeth and eyes. An optometrist would be like, which is astounding to me. This is amazing to me, that they wouldn't understand that your eyes affect your movement. How do you do anything without your vision? That takes specialized training called neurooptometry. Why? What do you have eyes for? Just to see clearly? No, to move you. But everything has to be seen through that paradigm, through the context of movement. Humans have to move. Once an organism, the first organism, stood up and moved, it was easier for that organism to get food than its other organisms that just sat there like sea squirts, which I made a video about, right? So in order to keep up, you have to move. Your mind has to be focused on something in the distance, in the future, to work towards. Otherwise, you get depressed. The human mind has to think forward, has to obtain something. The human body has to be able to do that. And that's what you have eyes for, so that you can move through your environment. A sea squirt does not need eyes because it just sits there on a rock and drinks the water that comes past it. But if you're a human and any other animal, I guess maybe some animals are, are bats blind? I don't even remember. But they have sonar. They have those, like, they can hear things, whatever. You have to have senses that allow you to move forward without getting hurt, without falling, without getting eaten. So the idea that optometrists don't study human movement is crazy, but that's how it is, because everything became so specialized. And then you have, everyone's trying, then of course there is the money issue, that people want to protect their financial interests. So yes, there is. So I don't think it's any one thing, but postural restoration is not taught in physical therapy school. They have limited amounts of, they just teach whatever they teach, and they've been probably teaching the same thing for many, many years. So I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's just a lot of different factors that prevent postural restoration from getting bigger. But I think little by little, as it becomes better known, especially the biggest thing is the strength and conditioning community. And once strength athletes really discover the power of it, they're going to want to do it. And so I think, and then that filters into the general exercise public, and it'll get into running magazines and, you know, things that people read in the newspaper for general health. A little bit that is happening, but I think that's how it has to start. I don't think it'll come from doctors, no chance, because they think they don't understand it. So if they don't understand it, it can't be real. So it has to be alternative. But they don't understand. They're not taught about pain in medical school. They're really not.
I think you summed it up perfectly by saying this is a disconnect, because everybody is looking at through their own lens, and PRI looks at it's holistic approach.
Yes,
and that was one of the game changers for me. One of the things that shifted my paradigm. Even though I'm not into anatomy or biomechanics, I'm not a specialist there either. So I'm a tabula rasa. I'm pretty fresh, so I can absorb the PRI much. But I'm usually more open to things.
Is that a John Locke term?
John Locke, what?
The tabula rasa. Did that come from John
tabula rasa is used in Boston as well. So not, but I don't recall John Locke saying tabula rasa. But when you're saying it.
Because he thought the human brain, was just that it was just born blank, empty, and then things came, and then it developed, and then Immanuel Kant said otherwise and said, no, you're everything that you're learning is being processed immediately by your brain through memory. So you're never experiencing the outside world pure. It's always processed by your brain first before it reaches your consciousness. And that's true. That's the truth. That's true with the visual system.
Yeah.
You're never seeing what's out there. You're seeing your brain's best guess of what's out there. Yeah.
Anyways, I was before meditation, I was like, meditation, this is, what are you doing? You're just sitting there and breathing and closing your eyes. And then I started doing it, and I pretty quickly realized how it affected my perception, like you said, like how I see things. It's like making a gap. So you talk about a lot about Buddhism, meditation, the noble truths, like you have to let go of your ego or of your right side. So this was another argument for me to continue my PRI journey. And hopefully next time when we talk, I finished all the courses and we can talk a little bit maybe high level. But the guy who introduced me to PRI, I said to him, do you have any questions for Neal, maybe? So this is a question, maybe. I hope you're not going to say, I have to see the person in person it's a special case. Okay. So he asked, one of his clients has extension, right leg is bigger than left, external rotation, right is bigger than left, internal rotation, left is bigger than right, adduction, left is bigger than right. So he's an AIC, but not quite AIC.
So you're saying he cannot adduct his left leg?
Yeah, it's adduct left leg is bigger than right. I just made the notes like he said it to me.
So he can adduct his left leg.
Yeah, he can adduct. Yeah,
but he cannot adduct his right leg.
Yeah, it's left is bigger than right. He said. Tricky one.
Well, see.
Sorry for putting you on the spot with this one.
So what can happen is the right side could be two things that I think of immediately. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the left hip is so loose that if you're not really, really pushing hard on that left hip and securing it and keeping it stable, you'll do the, I'm assuming he's talking about the test, the adduction drop.
Yeah.
Okay. So some left hips, you're lying them on their right side, their left leg is higher. So you're going to try to adduct the left leg down to the mat or down to the table. Some people's left hip is so pathological, meaning it's so weak that in order for this left leg to go down, to adduct their leg, the left hip essentially just pops, the bone essentially just comes out of the joint. Mm. And so you have to really push really hard on that left hip to keep it stable. And then you try to move it and it doesn't move. So it could just be because it's so unstable. He thinks that it's actually adducting when it's really just, it's not true adduction. It's just laxity of the hip itself. It makes it look like it's truly adducting, but it's not. So that's one thing. Okay. So I've seen that plenty of times where I was like, is this guy neutral? And then I was like, no, this thing is, but eventually you just realize that everyone feels different. But the moment you touch someone's leg and it's just all wobbling, it's just really, really loose, you know what you're going to get. That left hip is so pathological that it has extra range of motion that it shouldn't have. So that's one thing. The other thing on the right side, if the right side is going down, but it seems real tense, it could be coming from up in the neck and the subclavius area. So there could just be a lot of tension through the right side, which means the right leg will adduct, but it just doesn't seem to adduct as easily as the left. So let's pretend that person really has true left leg adduction. And it's not just because the left hip is so loose. The right leg may be a little bit restricted. It may still go down for a good test, but it just feels tense and restricted. That could just be tension from the right side of the body. And you release the tension up here and that right leg goes down without a problem. So those are two scenarios. The left leg is so pathological and so loose that you think it's adducting, but it's really just a fake adduction. Or the right side is just so tense because of something coming up in the right from the something higher up, like in the neck area, could be preventing that right leg from adducting appropriately.
When you were talking about teeth in one of your videos, and you said that one of your clients and friends, didn't said she was grinding her teeth, and this teeth grinding while she was sleeping was resetting her pattern. How is this? I'm grinding my teeth too at night while I sleep. So how is this teeth grinding resetting? Try to explain it like
your neck.
Okay.
So you could think of teeth grinding as your brain's search for stability that it can't get through the body. Okay, so you'll find almost always, if someone has a really unstable pelvis, their neck is going to be tight. So your brain tightens up your neck. Your neck tightens to prevent all this important circuitry of your cranium, all right, to protect it. So that's one thing. So, but if that goes on over time and you become really unstable, you start to use, and this is known in dentistry also, that you'll start to grind your teeth and search for stability of your neck. Because if it tightens up your neck, but your neck still needs range of motion, it's going to start to stretch areas of your neck that shouldn't be stretched. Okay, so, and that will often happen up at the OA joint. And then, so your brain tightens you up, but you still need to move. So you start to create instability in your neck in other areas to make up for where the neck got tight. But we don't want that area to be loose. So now you start to use your teeth to try to tighten up the part that just became loose. So it's just a chain of events of managing instability. Just think of it as that. You can think of it as your brain's attempt to manage instability, because these jaw muscles are strong and they're stress muscles. People start grinding their teeth when they're stressed. And that's a body that's stressed. So the moment you start to grind your teeth, your neck gets tight, because your jaw is really just full of neck muscle. It's all neck muscle. Your neck muscle is really attached. We think of our jaw as part of our head, but really, if you look at it, it's just hanging off our head. It's really controlled by your neck muscles. So the moment you start to grind your teeth, you're using jaw musculature and neck musculature and tightening it up. So you wake up in the morning and now you're not neutral anymore. And you're like, oh, my back is killing me again. Well, because your neck, and that's where people need to get a splint to stop that process from happening, and use this. So keep the teeth apart so that you can then do a PRI program to regain the stability that you've lost through your body without your brain trying to use your teeth to do it again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Another topic in my life is finger cracking and knuckle cracking. How is this connect? No clue.
I don't know. I don't have any logical connection.
It's a pattern, so I do it all the time. It's a pattern in that sense.
And that could be just your brain needs distraction, or it could be anything. It could just be some sort of behavior that you do for some reason that you're not even aware of.
I do it since I'm 5 or 6 years old, so pretty long time.
Maybe it's relieving some pressure, but I know it was funny about I remember I was convinced that I had arthritis in one of my fingers because it would hurt. I would try to crack it. It was my right, whatever this finger is, the fourth finger. It would be so painful when I would try to crack it, but I had the sensation I needed to crack. It was so painful. And I was like, man, I must have pre-arthritis. And once I was able to fully squat, because I finally got pronation of my left foot, went away.
Whoa. Sounds good.
And I did it with a friend of mine. He kept talking about how his index finger kept getting jammed. Like he would bend it and then it would kind of just stay like that. And I was like, hey, let's try something. And I had him squat and he was like, oh my God. The ability to squat allows your shoulder, your scapula to sit appropriately on your rib cage. And that restores proper movement of the arm and then the forearm and the wrist and then probably the fingers also. It was just tension. There was tension somewhere that was causing these fingers to lack movement. So a full squat, as long as you're not pathological, a full squat means you have a body that's really in balance. If you can squat all the way down and breathe and just hang out and just stay there, as long as you're not pathological, because some people, their pelvis is so unstable that they can just go down to the ground, but it's not because it's not a controlled squat. They're uncontrolled. So they're going to use their hip flexors when they're down in that position. So they're going to still, even though they can fully squat, they're still going to test with the pelvis that's forward. But at any rate, a full squat with that includes stability of the pelvis, strength of the pelvis, and the ability to expand your rib cage. That means you have a very balanced body, and your arms can go through full ranges of motion. Your legs can go through full ranges of motion, which means your rib cage can move appropriately, which means it can expand with air, which means you're not using your neck and you're not using your lower back to help stabilize you.
You were in Connor Harris's podcast. I watched the episode, and you said something that light bulb came on. When I was introduced to PRI, and you obviously talk about the left AIC, right BC pattern, I was like, okay, we have to work on the left leg because it is weak, like in the old school gym, like
right.
strengthen the left leg.
Yeah.
Then you said no, but the right leg is also compromised. So the right glute.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So do we have to I, for example, have not the most crucial left AIC. Is it better for me to work single-legged, like with the hip shift, both sides, one side? You have obviously the 4 exercises on your website. Right. Why do you recommend people doing those specific 4 exercises? Because they are a gazillion, I think, in PRI.
Well, I don't necessarily see this is where it gets very complicated.
Okay.
I'm
ready for it.
All right. Those 4 exercises might be perfect for someone who is just a left AIC, right BC pattern. They just overuse their right side, but nothing majorly wrong besides that. They don't have any major instability anywhere else.
Okay.
Those 4, I think I have 5 on there now because one is just kind of just sitting there and breathing into your right side. Those techniques there, theoretic done correctly, just one of the techniques done correctly, or combining 2 of the techniques, will get 80% of the population neutral. All their tests will clear, they'll be fine. I mean, they'll get neutral, doesn't mean they're stable yet. They still have to get more stability. But for 80% of the population, those will be perfectly fine. If they know how to do them, which of course no one actually knows how to do them because they're not gym exercises. If you think they're gym exercises, you're never going to do them right. They are sensory experiences. They are giving your brain the information that it needs to make the proper judgments about what muscles to use. Because you have a pattern problem. Your brain doesn't know when to use the appropriate muscles because it's never on its left side. It's a timing issue. Muscles have to be used at the appropriate times in the walking cycle. But your brain forgot how to do that. You lost that skill. So all these techniques are reteaching you so you can relearn how to do it. But your brain is responding to sense of your own body, to the position of your own body, interoception, how your body feels on the inside. And then it's also responding to what it's feeling and seeing from the outside. But it feels the outside from the feet. And where you lose the feeling, not that you realize it, is through the left heel and the arch and the big toe of the right foot. Because again, if you're always on your right leg, your weight goes to the outside of the right foot. The arch never comes down completely. The big toe never pushes off on that right foot. And then the heel never hits correctly on the left. So you're reintegrating, you're learning to reuse that sensory input from the ground, combine it with the sense of your body in a particular position, and then breathe, and the muscles turn on. At no point do I tell someone, hey, I want you to feel your left hamstring. I never tell anybody what muscle we're trying to feel. I have them pay attention to what they are feeling. And then all of a sudden their hamstring turns on. So so those techniques can work really well for someone who's and they might get lucky. They may still think these are gym exercises. And because their pattern is so light, they have no major instability elsewhere, they might feel amazing after those. I've gotten those emails. I've also gotten comments and emails like, oh my God, my body hurts after doing this. Is this normal? Well, because you didn't read what I wrote on my website. I said, these are only beginner, and I don't know exactly what's for everybody. So, people who are patho PEC are not going to do well with those techniques. But I can't explain, it's too complicated. So I chose 4, and I always say, you need help, professional help. That's it. There's nothing else I can do. I want to spread the science, but I can't know exactly what every single person needs. I just know that those 4 or 5 techniques done under the right conditions, which means correctly, will help a lot of people. But there's going to be plenty of people who will not benefit from them because they don't even have a right side. Or they shouldn't hip shift yet because they can't control their pelvis. The only way they can hip shift is by using their back. So they're going to hurt. So I just had to choose those 4 or 5 because I know theoretically, as a left AIC human, they can benefit from them under the correct conditions. But no one's going to understand that. So, it doesn't matter what I write on the website. They're just going to do what they do. And then they have to realize, oh, this hurt. So either they're going to say PRI doesn't work, or they're going to say, oh, I think I need help because it makes sense to me, but I can't do them correctly. And so that's what happens. People who don't understand PRI say, oh, it doesn't work because it just caused more pain. Well, you probably didn't get help from a professional who could have said, you know what, your neck is so tight that these techniques are not correct for you. But I'm not there to test people. So,
yeah. In one video, you said that some kid in a wheelchair, he stood up and walked after doing the PR4 techniques that you.
Yeah, I got the email. I probably still have it.
Yeah, and you said, does that surprise me? No, absolutely not. And I was like, yeah, that's some confidence. I love it because it doesn't surprise you.
It doesn't, and I think anyone who's done this long enough will have those types of stories because the moment you take your first breath with a left diaphragm positioned over the left side of the pelvis, and you expand the right side of your body, which has to happen because you can't do one and not the other. If you're truly on your left side and you take a breath with your left diaphragm, by definition, your left hamstring has to be on. Your brain just regrounded onto the left side. The right side finally let go. Your brain may have started to notice the left side of your world more because you can't be doing both at once. It's one or the other. So I've seen these changes occur. When you see tests change, people they thought they had range of motion issues, or their neck was incredibly tight and they knew it, until you have them sense their left heel and all of a sudden and walk just in a particular way, like I showed in one of my videos, and now they have full range of motion. Well, something changed. And what changed was their body relaxed. And the moment the body relaxes, it can come to life again. So you can't come to life again if you're already overexcited. You have to shut down first and then come back to life. And that's what that does.
You have a lot of stories, but the maybe most you said it yourself. You were the highest level patient, PRI patient.
Yeah.
So it's easy now to say in hindsight, but when you look at at your past, it benefited you in some way. That because you know how it feels, you know how your patient feel.
Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit about what happened, your pain or your experience?
Yeah. So as a child, up until probably age of 13 or 14, physically I was fine. I was a good athlete, and I played all the sports, and there was no issue. And then in the 8th grade, so when I was like 12, 13 years old, my right shoulder just started. I used to play baseball a lot, and I would pitch. I was throw, and my right shoulder started getting so painful that I couldn't throw anymore. I would throw a little bit, and my arm would just start to shake uncontrollably, and it was just terrible pain. And I remember the doctor said, "Oh, you have tendinitis." Well, tendinitis never went away, and I had to stop playing baseball because I couldn't throw anymore. Couldn't throw a football either, American football. I couldn't beat Tom Brady. So that was the first thing to start to hurt. And then when I was 14, my ears started to ring. So I got tinnitus in my ears, which of course not in your ears, it's your brain. And that was coinciding with a lot of teenage depression. Okay. And then, so that went on for quite some time. And then, my muscles would start to pull. I'd get pulled hamstrings, pulled adductors. And then in college, my sophomore year was the first time my SI joint. Oh, and I got plantar fasciitis in my feet in high school. I kind of forget about that. But that kind of went away, not completely, because my feet were never really comfortable. They would always hurt, but I just thought, well, you're standing on your feet a lot. They must hurt all the time. And other people are like, my feet never hurt. So I don't know. So I was like, all right. And then in college, I had my first SI joint issue, and that pain was just unreal. And you never really forget the first time your SI joint really starts to hurt, because it's so shocking how intense the pain is. And it's not really your back and it's not your butt, but it's kind of in a weird area and you don't know what it is, but it was so painful. And so the SI joint issues went on from ages 20, well, it started at 19, but it got really bad from like 23 until I was my mid 30s, until I found PRI. A couple times each year, my SI joint, right and left, would just blow out, and I'd be on I wouldn't be able to move for like at least a week. And then the neck spasms. And then again, I had plantar fasciitis again in both feet from age 23 to about 27. So about 4 full years. And it was just chronic. And then the ears were still, the tinnitus was still there. And so it was just a lot of chronic, my body was in a state of breakdown. I mean, it couldn't recover.
All over the place.
And of course, it becomes more stressful and more depression, and it just builds upon itself. So that's what I experienced. I didn't know that I had that I was struggling with vision. I didn't know anything about the crossbite, about the jaw. I didn't know about the eyes, period. Because I could see, but I didn't realize I had to create so much tension in my eye muscles to actually focus. Because when you're young, your eyes are so new that they don't have any problems focusing if you can't really see very well. They'll just do it. But then as you get older, things change and you have to produce more tension. But because you never noticed your vision change, you don't know that there's anything wrong. And you don't even know that you're creating more tension. So I didn't know about the vision. I didn't know I had hearing loss in my left ear. And I didn't know that my brain was stabilizing me through these right canine teeth with my jaw shifted. I didn't know any of this stuff. I saw the facial asymmetries. I'm like, why is my one eye really high and my jaws? It seems like I'm never looking at the camera, even though I'm looking at the camera. I saw those things, but I couldn't put them into perspective. And then eventually I found PRI when I was 35. And I'm 44 now. So maybe it's been about 8 or 9 years. And that's really where I started to discover what was going on. And, the SI joints, I never had another horrible episode of SI joint pain after that. After my first course, all I did was repositioning of the pelvis, and I never had, every now and then I would have some SI joint pain, but never like what it used to be like. The neck spasm stopped. The plantar fasciitis I actually got rid of before PRI. So that was good. So, that allowed me to stand up a little bit. And now that I could stand, I was like, I'm going to try dancing because it looked like fun. And that's how I got into dancing, because I could actually stand up for the first time without intense pain. I still had pain, but not like it was. So I was like, and so then, dancing affected my happiness. So my self-esteem started to go up because I realized I was pretty good at dancing. And, you're with other people who are happy in music and you like the music to begin with. So you start to feel better about life. And as you feel better about life, your pain isn't as bad. But I still had these unresolved issues in my cranium that were still causing problems. And then eventually, I realized, or I was informed that, yeah, you were born with bad vision, but no one knew. Yeah. And because I'm farsighted, there's a lot of people out there who are farsighted, meaning they don't see very well up close, but they don't really check for that when you're young. If even like when I was young, they would bring us to the nurse's office in elementary school and you would read the eye chart. Well, I was good at seeing distance. What I couldn't see was up close. But when you're young, you can see up close because your eyes are so new. But there's a lot of farsighted people out there that don't know they're farsighted because they never experienced any decline in their vision, because they never perceived it, but they don't realize how hard they're working their eyes to see distance and to see up close. They just don't feel it yet. They don't realize it, but they are. So there's a lot of farsighted people out there that don't even know it because they can see fine, but they don't realize how much tension they're creating in their eye muscles and cranium, and resulting in their cranium to actually see that clear picture. So that's even if you think you have perfect vision, which I used to always be like, well, I had everything else, but at least my vision's good. And ironically, nope. Well, it's hard to believe, but I had no clue that I had a visual issue, none. So get your eyes checked. There's nothing that will affect your body worse than your eyes if they're not working well. I cannot do anything. I cannot work with somebody. Mm-hmm. Their body will never relax. So I can't do anything. So when I'm screening my clients online, especially, like if they ask for help, I have most of my questionnaire is devoted to teeth and eyes, because those are the two things that I can't control and they're going to need help at. It just doesn't happen. It's just not going to work. So if I see these things, especially vision, saying you have to see someone live, because we could try a million things, but nothing will change if your brain is not getting the proper, because your eyes are your brain. They're not separate. Your eyes are your brain. So if your eyes are not getting the proper visual input, it's going to keep you tight. Nothing we do is going to change.
I loved your story. Like you said, it was at the beginning a downward spiral, but now you're coming back up and dancing, and you have a course that you're gonna teach. I won't be there live because it's like 3 p.m. after midnight. Yeah. So 3 a.m. Sorry, after midnight. So I won't be attending the live course. But can you tell us a little bit a glimpse about the connection between dancing and walking, like Rhythm, yeah.
Walking is rhythmic movement. And, it's funny that is a well-known concept, but no one pays attention to it. Scientists, a physicist, they can tell you what walking is better than physical therapists can. It's a pendular down-up movement of rhythmic timing from side to side. It's all in the science. So it's already known what it is, but no one approaches it like that. No one approaches muscle pain and joint pain as the inability to rhythmically, in a pendular down-up way, move side to side. They think the muscle is the issue. So it becomes a timing problem. You're spending too much time on one leg, the right, and not enough time on your left leg. So your brain wants you walking at 102 beats per minute, but your body can't carry it out. So there's a disconnect. That's why the video where I changed my friend's tests, the range of motion tests, I think I did about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, where we use conscious walking to inhibit her patterns. All I had to do was get better timed on her walking, and she went neutral.
That was the most fascinating video I ever saw. When I saw that, I was like, what? And I showed it to everyone. Look at this. Please look at this. Look at this lady. Look now. And it was like, whoa.
And I wish you had. Unfortunately, I couldn't. I then gave her music after that.
Yeah.
But the problem was the music was on my phone, and I couldn't film at the same time, obviously. But when I put on a song at 103 beats per minute, she even noticed it. Her stride length increased. Her head was up. Her arms just started swinging. She looked so much more confident walking, but she did nothing except listen to the music. So music has a way of bypassing the old pattern to help reprogram a new pattern. And her body relaxed. That's her test complete. And she thought it was the coolest thing in the world. The first part of it, she was like, oh, that's interesting, but she didn't really think too much of it. But when the music came on and she felt the difference in how she was walking, she was like, should I do more of this? I said, yeah. So rhythm is really important. The more rhythm you can hear in music, the more you can incorporate the rhythm into your body as you're walking. And it will help. It's all rhythm, it's all tempo. Your brain can only organize information sequentially. So it's temporal, it's timing. And so that's really what and dancing is fun if you like dancing. But some people, they don't like dancing simply because they don't know how, or they think they don't know how. But dancing is just organized movement. So you don't know what they don't like about dancing. So usually it's something they feel dumb because they think they don't have rhythm. They don't know that they probably do have rhythm. They just never were taught to hear the rhythm. In 15 years of teaching, there's never been one person I can remember one student who simply she just could not stay on beat. You know, some people hear it automatically, some people don't, but everyone can learn. So, you know, and once you realize that dancing can be anything you want, you can't compare yourself to professional dancers because it's a different thing. But most people, they go on a dance floor, they don't do much except for go from side to side. Mm. Have you ever seen, there's a movie called Hitch with Will Smith?
No, I haven't watched Hitch.
Okay.
Where they pick up girls? Or...
Yeah. Well, so he's trying to teach the guy how to dance, and the guy was trying to do all this weird stuff, but Will Smith says, no, just keep it tight, just go side to side. But that's what most people do. They're not doing anything special. So anyone can move side to side if you can walk, because dancing is just glorified. It's just walking, like in that sense. It's just rhythmic side to side movement. That's all it is. So there's connections between dancing and walking because of that rhythmic movement. You have to learn timing and get your brain and your body working at the same time. Someone who's been patterned for too long, their brain wants them walking at a certain pace, but their tightness of their body will not allow their body to move at the same pace. So there's constant tension between what the brain wants and what the body can do. Now, once they're out of their pattern, the body can move freely. You still may need to train, get those two beats working together. Because now the body can do it, but it now has to learn how to do it correctly, which is PRI.
PRI is really beautiful, I have to say, because it answers so many questions. Like, for example, I have always heard you have to strengthen the traps, but how much? How many sets? What are you going to accomplish with? You have to dial up the traps for 70% and dial down the pecs. So it would never made sense because the people who were saying it didn't understand it either. But now you have something which is really awesome. And like I said, we have to market PRI. It's functional training. It's postural training. It's training flexibility. All these buzzwords it is that in some way and shape and form.
Yeah, it's all of those things. I have never stretched anybody.
Yeah.
Because ranges of motion, it's when you're restricted in a range of motion, it's your brain saying no. The muscles will those range, again, you saw it, the ranges of motion completely, that was not a stretching issue. If you try to stretch it, your body's just going to tighten up even more and say, why are you doing this? It doesn't make sense to the brain just to stretch. Why would the body want to stretch? Give it a reason. Walking makes sense to your brain. Stretching doesn't. Now, I'm not saying that muscles don't need to be stretched every now and then, maybe, but once you're neutral and stable, then yeah, maybe you might need to stretch a muscle because it's been overused too much, and some of the properties of the muscle have become a little bit too, tight. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to, stretching a muscle is not going to change your brain's interpretation of the outside world or how it feels to have a hip joint that's finally safe and secure. So it's going to mean nothing. It's going to have no meaning to the body just to stretch or just to strengthen something. Why do you want to strengthen this tricep or this quad? Why? Give the brain a reason. It might not want it strengthened.
Yeah.
But if you put it in the context of walking, it makes perfect sense because it's already been programmed for millions of years.
It's an ancient program.
It's an ancient program. It makes sense. Yeah, that's why all these PRI techniques, whether they realize it or not, 80% are a stage of the walking cycle. You just don't see it like that, but it is, because of the position that your body's in, what your left hip is doing, what your arm is doing. You're being placed into a position of the gait cycle. And then you're breathing. Oh, now I feel those muscles. That should be active in that stage of the gait cycle. And that makes sense to your brain, and then it can reproduce it.
Neal, I really appreciate that you took out 1 hour of your day to talk to me in my podcast. Where can people find you if they're in pain, or do you have any? You have no spots left. Do you have time to?
Not really. I work by myself, and what you realize is when you work by yourself and you actually have people contacting you, you realize the amount of time it takes to work with people because of the emailing and all this other stuff. It's very time consuming. It's something I never experienced before until the past year and a half. And you learn, it's like, wow, I don't have time to respond to every single person. So, right now I don't have time for new people, but if people need help, I did say on my website where exactly they can look, go to the PRI website. And if you're in a different country,
in Europe, there's only Berlin and United Kingdom.
Yeah. So I would encourage anyone who's taken PRI seminars, at least, even if it's just been like the first 3. If you're in any country where there's no PRI providers, but you've taken some, just get it into a Google, put it on your web, do something so that Google can find it. Because even just with those techniques, even if you think you don't really know what you're doing, maybe you don't, but you will be able to help some people because they're not that complex. Most people will respond really well to the primary courses, to the techniques found in the primary courses. So, even if you're a trainer and you've taken the three primary courses, advertise it, make it known, because people are going to be searching for it. I'm just the one person. And in the United States, more people generally, as COVID virus is, getting less and less, people are doing more and more in person again, which means they're going to do less online, because online's hard. It's way harder than in person, just mentally, and it's just everything about it's harder. Like people think, oh, having an online business must be great. It is really hard. It's really hard. Mentally, I just burnt out over the last summer. I just burnt out. I shut down for 2 months because I was just so burnt out. It's just trying to figure out what's going on with it's hard. But people need to take the seminars and practice on your friends. Just practice the testing, practice. Don't be afraid to practice. Just find people to practice on. It's just range of motion. Just practice. I used to test everybody I could find, because then you start to get good at it. And you just pick a couple tests to get good at. Adduction drop test, shoulder internal rotation, right leg abduction. Those 3 tests will tell you a lot. But yeah, we need people who have taken the seminars, even if it's just a couple of them, put that on your web, advertise it so people searching can find you, and maybe you could help them. Not every single person is extremely complicated. Some people think they have, like my friend, like the guy I just saw yesterday, he thought something was really wrong with him. And he's responding so well. Not that he's easy to work with. There's nothing complicated. So, but where I'm located mostly is on the YouTube channel. So everything that we talked about today, I've talked about in one video or another. So you just type in my name, Neal Hallinan, and I guess I'll show up. And yeah, that's really where I can be found.
There's going to be links in the description and everywhere where I can put your link. Again, thank you, Neal. I will look, like I said, I watched a third of your YouTube channels. I will watch the other 2/3 and I'll see you again.
Yeah, definitely. I have to see how many videos I actually have, because I haven't counted. There's a lot.
Brilliant. I will thank everyone. I would like to thank everyone for watching, and be nice to each other.
Yes, that's a big thing. Being nice to each other. That's a really big thing.
That's the sentence I always say at the end. And now it's this podcast is over. It will be end credits, so everything we say after what I said will not be heard.
Okay. So let me just so this is interesting. So Ron, the founder, he told a story when he was, I don't know if he was still a student or maybe he had just graduated from PT school. He was working with a Vietnam veteran who had been exposed to a gas in Vietnam. And so he had tremors. Mm-hmm. And they were trying to treat him for tremors. And his wife came into the room and the tremor stopped. So our physical bodies are greatly affected by our emotion and how safe we feel. If people are kind to you and you're kind to others and you're dancing with them and having fun, there's a good chance that your shoulder internal rotation is perfect. You might want to put that, you might want to add that.
Yeah, of course. Don't worry.
That's important because this is not a physical, we have to expand our consciousness of what this process is. Eventually the pain is physical because you feel it, but not everything has physical origins. So if you're happier in life, you're living with people who are friendly, are nice. If you're in a very difficult environment, well, your body's going to be tense and your ranges of motion will reflect that. All right. So you can get somebody neutral through many different ways. People might become neutral just because they're in the company of someone they love. So they could also go not neutral because they go back to work and they hate their job. You can't underestimate the importance of that in what we're talking about.
I wanted to talk about this stuff, mind, connectedness to the body, but I didn't know how to ask.
There's just so many different ways. I know. Yeah. There's just so many ways that you just think of it. They're not disconnected. They're connected. So anything that influences your thoughts will be reflected in your body. If you have a disturbing thought, you feel it in your body. If you have a memory of something that happened, a traumatic incident, and you remember it, you might feel it in your body. Just the thought of being looked at is enough for people to feel it, their bodies start to get tense. So your thoughts influence your body, and then how your body feels influences your thoughts. It's just this loop. So you can't disconnect that. So you have to think about that, and you're going to feel it. It's a physical sensation. And that's pain often. But we think there's something wrong with our joints. It's not. Your energy has gotten stopped. Your energy has stopped moving because you got frightened, whether you realize it or not, or your brain got frightened, even though you're not frightened.
Neal, I would like to talk to you the whole day about this. But do you have anything? Do you have any end words, like you want to say something, maybe, or?
Just pay attention to your happiness levels. I think that's a big part. Again, I didn't start hurting until I became very unhappy. All right, so just happiness. If you're not happy, now again, things like trauma, that's difficult. But pay attention to what you're enjoying and do more of it. Use your brain, use your conscious thoughts to support more of those good feelings. So if I find that, gee, you know what? I like dancing. I had to use my conscious thoughts and my determination and put my physical energy and mental energy into dancing more to support what I already felt good with. A lot of times we know we feel good doing something, but we have this story in our mind that says, no, I should be doing something different because my mom said I should do this, or my brother said I should do this, or my culture says this is what men should do, or women. Not this, but I feel better doing this. But I'm told I should do this. I don't know what to do. Ooh, I'm going to get tight. You're going to have a lot of internal tension. So pay attention to how you feel about things you're doing in life. The things that you feel good doing, do more of them. Use your thoughts to do more of them. Not pleasures. That's different. That's never going to make you happy. Chasing pleasure, that's different. Things that make you feel fulfilled and just content. Once you find that, use your thoughts and your conscious mind and your strengths to support doing more of that, and you'll be happy.
Brilliant. I have to say again, be nice to each other.
Big part also. That is a big part.
Neal, it was really I wasn't starstruck. Somehow I watched your videos all the time, and it was like I know you. It's a little bit strange when I invite some guests that I watch all of their videos, but it wasn't strange because I really love your channel because you repeat the same concepts again. And one comment was like, your channel is a little bit in the chaos, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when I watched 2 or 3 videos. But as you get into 10, 20, you just repeat I want to compliment you as a teacher because you taught the concept in many different ways. So thank you again.
It all comes back to the same themes. That's what they don't see. You can't watch just 2 videos or 3 videos, but you have to work a little bit. That's the other thing. I'm not going to just people want to know exactly what to do after watching 1 video. I don't even respond to that. Those people, they're never going to get better because they won't put any work into it. Other people, they will just binge watch every single video and get a good understanding. It's just amazing to me how different people respond to the same information. So I want to help the people who binge watch every video because they're going to have success. I can't work. It's not just the teacher. It's a two-way street. It takes 2 people to dance. If you're going to dance as a partner, both people have to be on the same kind of wavelength, as we say. Someone watches 1 video. Where's the solutions? Watch more videos. The whole thing is the solutions. And I say in every video, find someone to help you. But people don't want that. They just want to be fed. They don't want to have to work for it. Yeah. But your brain needs to work for things. Otherwise, there's no pleasure in it. It's the process.
Yeah. It circles back to the thing you said about what we see. We don't see what we see, what is there, but how our interpretation.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Neal, maybe in like 100 episodes, I will call you again when I finished my 3 courses, primary courses. It's good that I can study from home. I don't have to travel to United States.
And everything I talk about in these videos applies to what you're going to learn.
Brilliant.
That's the great thing about, what I think is great about my channel is that when I was doing the information was there, but it was only taught in seminars. And I thought to myself, so many of us, just like me, we go to the seminars, but it was so complicated that we needed to hear it in different ways, or people who could make it more simple. And it wasn't really there. So I said, after I got certified or my credentialing, I said, there's going to be more and more people like me who were searching for more information just to help put everything together and, put it in context. So I was like, maybe I should start a channel like that. And that's really why I did it. For people who had been like me, were just desperately searching for other information about PRI to help us understand the big picture. And, so I think I wish if my channel had existed when I had first gotten into it, it would have made things a lot easier for me to learn. But that's why I exist. And so, if you and the guy who asked you that question, if you guys are both taking those seminars, that's amazing.
Has 3.
Oh, that's amazing. Practice on everybody, your family members, your friends. You just keep practicing, get your hands on every single person and test them and see how those tests may change by having them change how they walk. Just do what I had that girl do in the video. Put on some music, see if they can walk to a beat, see if their tests change. You just got to do a 90-90, do 2 feet. See, do they feel one hamstring or the other? Do they feel nothing at all? And you start to notice patterns. And then you know how to deal with the patterns that you're seeing.